How are we going, folks? As I mentioned yesterday, time to prepare that garden bed. I've come to get some chicken manure and straw. Hello, girls. How are we? And fella, how you going? Some of you might not have chickens. And if you don't, you can go to your local garden centre and get yourself some chicken manure, sheep manure, cow manure. Any of those will be fine to help you compost your garden bed. Now you can use compost and mushroom compost. Now the problem with mushroom compost that I've found, now I'm not sure down in your local areas, but where we are up here or down here in the western region, no mushroom compost anywhere to get. But that's okay, I've got plenty of chicken manure here and bark. We've got some pine shavings in here is mixed up as well. So it's all been broken down beautifully, and this is what these girls do for us. They create compost for us. This has been, I'm thinking about 4 to 6 inches filled up, 100, 150 mil of pine shavings and chicken manure. This is what it looks like underneath. See, it is clay, it is rich, and I reckon it's going to be full of good organic matter. Look at that. That is, and there's no water that gets in here, folks. We're inside, so you can see how moist it is, even after that heat wave. So I'm going to scrape some of that up with a little bit of that soil and go and pour it into the garden bed. What's in there? Hey, what do you see? Now the garden bed I'm working on is about 2 square metres. And if you've got aged manure, you can put almost a bag per square metre, but it's got to be old manure. It can't be fresh. If it's fresh, you're just going to burn everything. You're going to have to leave it at least for a month or 2 months for it to break down. So for a 2 square metre garden bed, which is what I'm working on, I need approximately 2 bags of any type of manure. In this case here, I'm using my chicken manure. And we'll spread that over the top. And don't forget the black grit. And then we're going to water it in with a little bit of Eco Butch and liquid gold. Thank you, ladies. Nothing in here for you. Ah, you're my friend. Good girl. Come on, get down. What am I thinking? You know what I'm thinking? These spring onions have been here just as long as the other ones. Maybe 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks the most. They are alive, but by comparison to those, chalk and cheese, folks. And that's because of the soil. 2 different soil batches that we have here. Both been treated the same, but yeah, all right, Eco Butch and liquid gold and black grit is not a miracle worker. It will do you some great things in the garden, but if your soil's a little bit contaminated, well, these are the results. No matter what you add into it in the short term, it needs to wash through. You need to get rid of all that poison or toxin, whatever's in the soil. So I think we're at the tail end of that now. The spring onions are holding, you know, a bit of green in there. The leafy greens are fine. The tomatoes, while they're on that side, I'll pull them out later on. We're just going to take out all these leaves now. We're going to turn this soil over. And it feels like it's good soil. Honestly, it does feel like it's good soil now because we've been working it. But let's go down below and see what's going on. All right. All right, this is the soil underneath. Now, as a texture, it feels great. It breaks easily. It's moist. Like, it doesn't need any water, but yet all the plants are dying, so something's been killing them. Anyway, well, let's hope it's just depleted now. Now, in the past, I've mentioned to you that I no-dig garden, which means after your season's crop is finished, you take everything out, leave the garden to rest, just top dress it with your manure, compost, and mulch on top and leave it. But because this garden bed struggled from day one, and you've seen what I'm talking about, these tomatoes, 2 different types of soils, I'm going to turn this soil bed over. I need to get some air back down inside and see if that will help it. And then we're going to add the compost, or the manure in this case. And then we're going to let it rest, and hopefully we get a better crop next season. Oh yeah, by the way, all these spring onion leaves, just going to leave them in the ground, let them decompose as part of the mulch. So we've turned this bed over. Now we're going to put our aged chicken manure, which is mixed with the pine shavings. If you can't get stuff like this because you haven't got your own chooks, well, like I said, chicken manure, sheep manure, cow manure, or just plain compost. You can buy them in bags as well from your local garden centre. They will all do a great job. Just got to make sure it's not fresh because it'll burn your plants. So I've top dressed this side. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't done the other side, I've still got some capsicums in there. I'm going to let them go. I'm just going to top dress it. I'm not going to turn it over, not for planting yet. So I'll get this bed first going, and then a couple of weeks or a month later I'll get the other one going too once the capsicums have done their dash. We should turn it over now. No, how can I forget? The black grit. So It's 2 tablespoons per square metre, but I'm a little bit more generous than that. I put a handful per square metre, folks, which basically is realistically 2 tablespoons. Well, yeah, thereabouts. Well, yeah, I put a bit more than that, don't I? Won't harm your garden. It's a soil amendment fertiliser, so if there's too much acid in the soil, it'll fix it. If there are toxins in the soil, nothing will fix that. So don't think this is a soil doctor as such. It is a soil amendment fertiliser. It controls the acidity levels in your soil without dissolving when you add water. So it only works when it comes in direct contact with acidic soils, and it has the magnesium silicate phosphate. So what that means, it'll green your plants up. It'll give them the body, the strength, the size, and lots of flavour and fruit and flowers and big root system. Like I said, this was a difficult garden bed because of the problems with the soil. Same garden bed, same treatment, and you can see the results. Honestly, there's a huge difference. A very productive garden and a garden that struggled. But we're going to fix this. So we'll just mix it all through and get a sort of even blend throughout. That looks good already. That's pretty much it, folks. This is a pretty standard procedure what we're doing with this garden bed. If you've got a new garden bed, existing garden bed, you know, just digging up an area that you're going to start turning it into a garden bed, you need to basically prepare it in this manner. Add your manures, your compost, your black grit, turn it over, make sure you got the texture. This is what I mean by texture. Have a look at this. Come through, come closer. Look at the particles, all the different particle sizes. And microbes work on the smallest particle back up. Now, they don't eat these big chunky bits, but this is a long-term process, and that turns into carbon, starts to feed the microbes, and you want that good aeration through the soil as well. So you need all these different types of texture through the soil. You don't want a heavy base clay soil. You can grow in clay and you can grow in sandy loam. I've seen those garden beds. I've been to so many around Australia. Everyone's successful in that way. The thing you got to factor in is that these garden beds, the owners of these garden beds have been there for a decade, 2 decades or more. So they know the habits, they know the microclimate, they understand the way the garden works, what it needs, how much water it needs. Because if you've done it for 10 years, you get to understand exactly what you're doing or how it reacts to how much water you're applying or fertilizer. Even the seed range, if you're collecting your own seeds. We grow a lot of variety here, then we harvest seeds, and as you know, we sell online. And these seeds go through a lot of harsh conditions as far as weather's concerned. So they are adaptable. So if coming from this environment, going into a small courtyard garden or just a normal house block garden, I guarantee you your plants will actually outperform what they do here because you've got a better climate than I have. But your soil needs to be prepared properly like this. So get your organic matter into it. Don't shy away from it. If you haven't done it, if you've done it for 10 years or more and you don't think this is the right way and you think another way, I'd love to hear from you. If you grow your gardens in sandy loam or just basic clay, no mulch on top, I'd love to hear from you because you guys really know what you're doing. You've done it for so long. Let's share your tips and ideas. This information here, this example here, is for a new starter or someone who's giving it a go who wants to improve their garden bed. The basic steps: turn it over, aerate it, get your manures, get your compost into it, get your mulch into it, get your black grit, turn it over again, then feed it with your EK Butch to activate the microbes and the liquid gold as well, and then put your mulch on top. So I'm going to be putting some pea straw over the top to protect it and give it a nice blanket from the heat and the cold, and water that in as well because you need to hydrate the mulch. It's no good just putting it on top dry as a bone because any moisture underneath, it will suck it back up. So it will dehydrate your garden bed. So you need to hydrate that as well. This is 10 litres, which I dare say, no, it's not going to be enough. I've applied 20 litres in these 2 square metres. It's approximately 2 square metres. Because 10 litres just isn't enough. And that's another thing about watering. You know, we can overwater, but most times we're actually underwater. We don't get the water down deep enough if you're doing it by hand. So give your garden bed an application, let it rest, a couple of minutes, 5-10 minutes, and come back and give it another application. You need to break that water tension, that sort of surface tension that exists when it dries out and dehydrates. It becomes aquaphobic. With one application, you're not going to penetrate through properly. It's the second and third application on the same day, not a week later or 2 days later. And now all we need to do is put our mulch on top and hydrate that as well, and then we sit back and wait. This is how all the garden beds start off, folks. And look at it on the other side. After a few months, bit of wear and tear, it does break down pretty quick. So hydrate this as well now. I'm going to wet this first with a little bit of water to hydrate it a little bit because, you know, 20 litres isn't going to be enough to hydrate all this. So at least 20 litres by hose like this, and then we'll just top it up with 10 litres of VK Butch and Liquid Gold. And this is what you got to do with your garden beds, folks. If your summer crop is finished and you're pulling it out, or you're starting up a new garden bed, turn it over, add your compost, manure and mulch on top, and all black grit and Liquid Gold VK Butch. It's the best way to get your garden going. And also, it's the week to draw the big Malacca tomato competition. So stay tuned for this Saturday, and I'll announce it again tomorrow, and Saturday morning. Just to remind you, tune into 3AW if you've entered the competition for the big Malacca tomato, the biggest one that is. We've got a Facebook group there, check it out, the big Malacca tomato competition group. So check that out. Tune in this Saturday, 3AW. It starts at 6:30 a.m. The gardening show, weekend gardening show with Darren James. We're going to announce the winner of the big Malacca competition, who gets a big hamper prize to take home, plus our VIP competition. At the end of the month, we're going to be drawing 3 winners, $2.5 grand, $12.50 and $500. All you need to do is subscribe to our magazine, Vasili's Garden to Kitchen magazine, for a chance to win a major prize. Otherwise, go to our website, vasilisgarden.com, for great products for you to enjoy, and the mini hothouses. They're selling fast. Don't miss out on one of those. From me, Vasili, Maresi.